was a good evening. I was on a plane back from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and just narrowly missed the window to get to the alumni event nearby. But I did make it to the basketball games, and the King's College has a great history of spirit of competition, and I know that the Briarcliff campus was more distinguished in its athletic prowess and achievements than is the New York City campus. However, we had that event at Baruch College. I just have to tell you all this as a kind of way into this, and admittedly, our current students, some of them are very distinguished in terms of athletics, but as a group, the current student body are not known for their athletic achievements. But the coach of Baruch College basketball came up to me and said, "Someone told me that you're the president of this college." And I said, "That's correct." And he said, "I just want to say this. I have never seen such hustle as I am seeing out here on the floor right now." So all the houses competed. The house basketball competition was last night, and this is all part of the points that they accrue for the interregnum prize later on this year. And he said, "These kids are out there like life and death depends upon winning these games." And he said, "I've seen more of the boys dive for balls than my team has in the whole season so far." So at any rate, there you go. There's that spirit of hustle for the King's College. I am deeply grateful that you all are here. Thank you for making yourselves available to us for this time. I just want to give you a brief campus update about things that are going on, and highlight a few things. I always want to say a word of thanks at the onset of every one of these events. A special thanks to Katie Corbin, who puts these events together. We have Silk Purse Outcomes and Sal's Ear Resources to pull these things off, and Katie always does it with such aplomb. So would you please join me in thanking Katie Corbin? And I also want to thank the Alumni Association for their work. And I have to tell you, you all know that it matters a great deal to me to see the Briarcliff campus and heritage be incorporated into the New York City expression of the King's College. That matters a lot to me. And this year started with, it was a little bit ironic because the Alumni Association was meeting in Ocean Grove, New Jersey, where Kimberly and I spend a lot of time, but it was also move-in day on campus, so we couldn't be there in person. But telephonically, it really moved me to hear the voices of the younger alumni with the others from the Briarcliff campus working so seamlessly together, and we just need to keep working on that. You know, I know we have a lot to overcome, and there was a lot of inertia for many years, but we're picking up steam, and that's definitely good news. We had Lynn Mitchell put together a really fantastic Northern New Jersey lunch a couple of weeks ago, and Kimberly and the T-Babes came, and there were people there. It was small, but there were people there from the New York City campus, from Briarcliff Manor campus, and also from Northeastern Bible College came in. That was NBC folded its life and work into the King's College, and we had folks come out from that too. So what that shows me is everybody wants to stay involved and keep connecting. And one of the ways, and these are kind of the preliminary before I do sort of the formal campus update, but we want to try to put together a living history of the college, a formal institutional history. Now, Max last night from Martha's Vineyard. Max, are you still? Are you okay? There you are. Max told me that the librarian at King's had done a history of King's up until what, maybe 1980 or something along those lines. If anybody has a copy of that, I would like to see it. But I'm working with Emily Schatz, who's going to get underway. I'm working on an institutional history of King's. She's going to get underway next month on that formally as a sort of college historian. So we're slowly pulling together all this information in detail. We need anecdotes from the old campus. We need formal papers. I just got a kind of a small truckload of stuff from Friedhelm Renat. I was in Seattle about 2 months ago, and Friedhelm said, I've had all of these boxes related to King's, and do you want them? And the answer is, of course. So we're starting that project, and you'll be hearing more about that coming up. Thank you for following the Alumni newsletter. We love hearing from you and hearing about the things that all King's alumni are doing. So I was just asked to endorse a new book that's coming out from Robert Somerville, If I'm a Christian, Why Am I Depressed? Now that really pleased me because Bob is a 1967 alumnus of the college, and he's asked me to endorse the book. So, this is maybe some of you need this. I'm not sure, but I was very pleased to. But that's just simply something that we got that came over the transom from the Alumni Association newsletter. Some of you might want to know on April the 20th. We've started a new lecture series in the spring of every year called the Founders Day Lecture. And what we're going to do is give that as a time to talk about the founding of King's and the spirit of King's over the years. And we've asked Friedhelm to come and speak on that day, but we'll be talking about the Percy Crawford era, the Bob Cook era, and connecting with others from the family there. And so we want to thank Rick Milham for the amazing work he has done with the Alumni Association. Thank you so much. People like Rick and Steve French have been worked very closely with me in this first year, and that has meant a lot to me, brothers, in my first year as president of the college, to have you all coming alongside and knowing that you're there supporting us, and so thank you so much. Well, I will not try to belabor this campus update too long, but just give you a little bit of a sense of things that have just happened just this fall semester on campus at the King's College. This fall we had 157 new students, which was a 22% increase over last fall year's class. So I think we've gotten the boat out of dry dock here, and we've pointed it in the right direction. We had a marked increase in retention of last year, and our admissions team is already out on the road fanning across the country looking for those students who are outliers, who would understand and appreciate the distinctive mission and vision of what a King's College education looks like here in New York City. I've been on the road a lot, meeting new friends and donors, and one of the phrases that I've been using to describe what King's is like is it is a unicorn. I don't know of anything else quite like this, a traditional residential Christian liberal arts college in an alpha city, doing the kinds of things we're doing and giving the opportunities that our students have. We've been off to a good start. As many of you know, because of the way our campus is, and it's something we're always trying to figure out is new ways to give space and opportunities for our students in terms of campus, but it's impossible currently on our existing campus here to get all the students in one place in one time unless we go away. So our fall retreat happened September 5th through 7th. I think over 80% of the student body came out, and they listened to biblical talks from faculty and staff for a weekend, and we all get together, and that was certainly, it's a galvanizing time of worship together, coupled with the house drama competition, which there's always competition anytime the King's students get together, both internally and externally. And I have to say that the interregnum theme this year is mortality. And we were sitting there with the T-Babes, and that may be a little closer to home for some of you than for others. And I'm just kidding. And Carolyn, my 11-year-old, leaned over to me and she said, now she didn't know there was a theme, what the interregnum theme was. So every sketch, every skit had to do with death. And she said, Dad, this is pretty dark. Are the King's kids okay? And I was like, oh. So I had to explain to her what the interregnum theme meant and why they were all talking about death incessantly over and over again. But the fall retreat was certainly wonderful. One of the great things about being where we are and the momentum that we're picking up is the people that are coming to us and saying we want to join in on what's happening as part of what's going on at King's. And here's a good expression of that. Amity Shlaes is a 4-time New York Times best-selling author, the former economics editor for the Wall Street Journal under the famed Robert Bartleby years, 10 years at the Wall Street Journal, of Friedrich Hayek and Bastiat Prize award winner multiple times, senior fellow for the Council for Foreign Relations, and the head of the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Foundation. If you have not read her books, The Forgotten Man, which is celebrated as the best ever rendering of what happened during the Great Depression, you owe it to yourself to get that book. And for those of you that want lighter reading, she was also New York Times best-selling graphic novel author this past summer. She did a graphic novel rendering of The Forgotten Man, which was also #1, although you don't have to sell as many graphic novels to get to #1 on that score. But Amity is coming on board with us as presidential scholar, and she will be teaching history of economics here. Now, I was with a major donor of the college 3 weeks ago on the day that this was announced, and when he walked into the room, the first thing that he said was, Greg, Amity Shlaes, wow. And so that feels really good. That was an outside donor said, Amity has talked to us about loving what the King's College is doing and wondering how she could get involved. And I said, well, if it was funded, we could make this happen, and it's happening, and she's already getting involved on campus. Our new career development head is Bethany Lee Jenkins, and this is a real answer to prayer because Bethany is someone who has the right combination of understanding of both not only the world of New York City possibilities and internships, but also someone who deeply understands a theology of vocation and calling. She's got a JD from Columbia Law School, has worked for the New York Stock Exchange, just right around the corner here. Also has worked for Congress and so forth, the founder of the Park Forum here in New York City. And I have already, just in the first couple of weeks that she has been on the job here, I have come to know this. Everyone who is a Christian in New York City knows Bethany Jenkins, and she's already opening up all kinds of doors for our students. So that is a dream come true, and we're glad. And her area is growing. The King's College used to be a prominent leading member of the Council for Christian Colleges and Universities. When the transition happened in New York City, King's disembarked from the CCCU for a time. But we're back in the band. We've rejoined the CCCU as an affiliate member, and what that means is we don't have enough majors currently to be a full member, but I like the schools that we are partnered with as affiliate members. The other two affiliate members of the CCCU are Baylor and Pepperdine, which I think puts us in pretty good company. And so we're glad to be back. Shirley Hoekstra, the new president of the CCCU, who came from Calvin College, is a good friend of Kimberly and mine, and already we're seeing how being a part of the broader world of Christian higher education is getting new looks to our work here in New York City. An entailment of joining the CCCU is a pretty remarkable thing that has happened. The CCCU has leading programs called Best Semester. There's a program in Moscow. There is one in, there's a politics and American government program that's based in Washington, D.C. There's the Los Angeles Film Studies Center that Kimberly attended when she was at Messiah College. And another one of their marquee programs was the Washington Journalism Center. For 20 years, through the support of Roberta and Howard Amundsen, which many of you know, they're great supporters of the arts all across the country, major investors in the Getty Museum and Mobia here in New York City, the Museum of Biblical Art. Several months ago, Roberta and Howard came and visited me, and they said, we've been talking with the CCCU, and we think that in terms of what's happening in journalism and what's happening at King's through the work of Paul Glatter and others, it makes sense for us to pick up the Washington Journalism Center and move it to the King's College in New York City, which is a major thing. It's a huge vote of confidence. But the reason why they did it was Washington is a great place to do journalism if you're interested in politics only. I mean, you know, maybe a little sports, but who wants to write about the Redskins? If you're interested in finance, economics, sports, entertainment, or any other kind of journalism, the game is in New York City. And so the Washington Journalism Center of the CCCU is going to reboot in New York City next year at the King's College, and we'll be receiving CCCU students from all around the country as part of our Best Semester program. And our launch for the Phillips Journalism Institute that this is a part of, headed up by Paul Glatter, star journalist for the Wall Street Journal for 12 years, came to be a faculty member here at King's. We had a launch here with one of the leading journalists of The Economist. All believers in journalism came from Washington, came from around the Eastern Seaboard. And in this group, it was great. It was both old and new media. So there were Michael Luo from the New York Times, Alice Ree from the Washington Post. We're in the same room with people from Mashable and BuzzFeed. All these believers, it's kind of like the secret society of journalists, you know, who are believers, all gathering together here at the King's College. This is kind of a fun update. I have this story that I tell that I want to tell you. It's kind of a joke, and it leads into this as an example of it. I have a friend, Mike Mahoney, who's a film editor, and he does a lot of television work. And one of the programs that he works on is for the Travel Channel, and it's on haunted houses. And as many of you know, Aaron, you would certainly know this. Today in reality television, there's often not a director. There's just a producer and there's a film editor. And my friend Mike Mahoney was getting this feedback. These teams go out and film these haunted houses and interview people and then film the house. And what he discovered as he got the footage back was that these teams, if they didn't think the house was creepy looking enough, they just go find another house in Stamford, Connecticut that looked creepy and film that one instead. So he was on the horns of an ethical dilemma, because we're not telling the truth here. So he called his LA producer and said, what happens if people actually go visit these houses and they realize that we've been lying to them? To which the producer responded, Mike, the Travel Channel is not for people who travel. The Travel Channel is for people who stay home and watch TV. What I say to our King students is, all across the country, when people turn on their television to watch news, they're watching New York on TV. All across the country, people are watching the news happen in New York on TV. And what I always say to our students is, the King's College is for people who don't want to stay home and watch New York on TV. They want to be here as it's happening. So you'll remember a couple of weeks ago, hundreds of thousands of people descended on Central Park for the climate change protest. And then the next day, they moved down here, right out into our environs to shut down. Their goal was to shut down the New York Stock Exchange by flooding Wall Street. It was the Occupy Wall Street crowd, climate change, but they were basically saying capitalism is the thing that's causing climate change. So it was actually adorable in a way, because if anybody knows anything, only 20% of the trades still happen here. Most of them happen in Midtown. They should have gone, they should have gone there if they were really concerned about this, but I get why they wanted to come to Wall Street. So they were out there, and so, some of our boys from the House of Reagan said, I think the former president of Reagan, Johnny Lyle, said they have this life-size cutout of Ronald Reagan that it's sort of the prize, it's the mascot of the House. So he said, I think it's time for Ronnie to go out and get some fresh air today. So they waded out into this mob and started debating the relative merits of capitalism with these people. And it became a national news story. It was covered in, Business Insider, Fox News, everywhere. And Elite Daily came by to do a little film on them because they thought this was just kind of remarkable. The new the new rebel alliance are, I guess, the kids that are pro-capitalist. But at any rate, they didn't get beat up, but someone did grab Ronnie out of the hands of one of the bearers there and tore it to shreds. So, but it made for a good press and was a lot of guerrilla marketing for the King's College. We've been doing other things that have been exciting here on campus. One of the things that is fun to do in this time in our nation's life is to have Kings be a conversation place for what's happening in culture. And so I thought it would be fun if we'd take someone, from one perspective like Dennis Prager and another perspective like Kirsten Powers, and Eric Metaxas, who's our senior fellow and is involved on a daily basis at King's, and I kind of throw together a bowl of Skittles and M&Ms together and see what happens. And it was a really great evening. It was very heated and intense. We talked about all of the issues related to faith and freedom in the public square, got a lot of attention in both. And the great thing about it was both Kirsten and Dennis afterwards said, wow, we're huge fans of the King's College now after what happened there. And they'll be back. The Washington Post just this past week did a big story on the partnership between the King's College and the Herzl Institute in Jerusalem. Yoram Hazony is a leading scholar of Hebrew thought, is well known as a leading thinker and scholar of Jewish thought. And our professor, Drew Johnson, has been working with him on a number of fronts. And so King's will actually be not only our student, giving an opportunity for our student body, but a sending place for Christian students to spend a semester in Jerusalem at the Herzl Institute in Israel. And this has gotten a lot of attention. Like I said, the Washington Post featured it last week, just last week. And PBS was coming on Monday to do a story on it for Religion and Ethics Newsweekly, and they said we may have to wait until next month because of budget problems. So thanks to viewers like you, evidently didn't come together, but hopefully it'll happen next month. Other friends that are coming to participate in the life of Kings, Tullian Chividjian, Billy Graham's grandson, has become a good friend of the college. He came and spoke to our student body last week and was well received. And so we're very grateful for what's happening in the life and work of the King's College. I will end with this. Last week, the Wall Street Journal released the findings of a study from the American Council of Boards of Trustees and Alumni. And what they discovered in their study was that the vast majority of college graduates do not understand the basic facts of American government, of civics, of history. Only, I think, 18% of the graduates of colleges and universities that were polled knew which American general was in charge of the Battle of Yorktown. This went on and on. If you want the article, I'd be happy to send it to you. But this is what we're doing here. The politics, philosophy, and economics, this classic Oxford curriculum combined with classics gives our students a meta perspective and gives them a view of the world that is unique, and also gives them a cultural and civilizational literacy rate that is very different than many of their other college peers. And when we combine that with another study that was done by the Chronicle of Higher Education, which was they polled, did a national poll of employers and said, what is the most important thing to you about a college graduate? And to the chagrin of many institutions, the things that mattered most was not that where they went to college or what their major was. GPA mattered somewhat, but the number one thing was, what experiences have you had? And that is what we provide here, is the key institutions, the strategic institutions of New York City. And as I've said before, there's a Sinatra element in all of that, because if you can make it here, you know the rest. So thank you so much for your attendance here today. It's I kind of was emotional last night as I was talking to Max, because he inbound from Martha's Vineyard, many of you coming from great distances. Thank you so much for being here. And we're grateful for your support and your presence. And Mr. President, that concludes my report to the Alumni for Homecoming 2014. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, President Thornberry. It's just always great to see what's going on at King's, and I think it's just special that the president every year takes time on a Saturday afternoon to come talk to alumni and to just give us a great picture about the amazing things that are going on here. I realized that earlier I didn't introduce myself. Not everybody was here this morning. My name is Chris Ross. I'm a graduate of King's from 2010. And I'm, as of about an hour ago, the president of the Alumni Association. So I look forward to meeting all of you and getting to know everybody here. I think it's great that every year we have a great group of alumni who come. I wanted to follow up a little bit on something that President Thornberry was talking about. 5 or 6 of us had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to sit on a panel here as alumni and to talk to King's students who are trying to figure out what they want to do as careers, what they're looking for in their vocation. And we had this great moment where we had been sort of talking about, as a 19, 20, 21-year-old looking for a job, how should I look for opportunities? What type of skills should I be building? A lot of the questions sort of had underlying them, how can I go out and fulfill the mission of King's? And after a while, we sort of came back and said to them, remember, the King's mission is great. It's huge, it's big, it's beautiful. We want to prepare young Christian leaders to go into these big ticket institutions, government, media, law. This is great. It's great that King students want to do this. But a lot of their questions were, how do I get to that point? How do I become the leader? And at one point I said, well, remember, you don't just wake up one morning and say, I want to change the world. You don't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to be a leader. And so we got to sort of say, let's take a step back and remember that to become a leader, to become somebody who's fulfilling this mission of King's, you have to put in a lot of groundwork. You have to learn how to work in an office. You have to learn how to show up, how to say yes, how to learn new skills, how to build on your previous experiences. And it was just a great moment for, I think, us as alumni 5, 8, 10 years out to reflect on the experiences we got at King's. A lot of the opportunities that President Thornberry was talking about, and now that we're in the working world, to learn how we have to build on those. And I tell that story because at this point in the program, we're now turning to our annual Alumni Awards. And these are people who've put in, in the last few years for our Oaks Award, they've put in a few years of grunt work and they've started a great career. And then we're honoring people who've been out in the world in ministry and working in various fields for decades. And every single one of them is fulfilling the mission of King's because they've gone into the world and said, I know that I need to lay down the foundation, lay down the groundwork, and do well in order to fulfill this mission. And so I'm very excited to begin preparing, or to begin presenting these alumni awards. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read a description of the award that we're giving out, and then I'm going to invite somebody to come up and present the award. We have 2 of our award winners here today, and then we'll give a brief presentation about the other 2. So I'm gonna start with the J. Stanley Oaks Award, and I'm just gonna read you the description. The mission of the King's College is accomplished through its alumni. Transforming society through shaping and then leading strategic national institutions is no easy feat and requires courage, integrity, vision, and tenacity. Together, these are the key components of a pioneering spirit and are exemplified by J. Stanley Oaks, the 4th president of the King's College. President Oaks took on the daunting challenge of reestablishing King's in New York City, driven by a vision to educate Christians to influence culture at its core ideas, rather than to react to secular society. This award is in honor of President Oaks and seeks to recognize those alumni who both embody the mission of the King's College and demonstrate a pioneering spirit by using his or her career to influence strategic national institutions. So I'm going to ask the Secretary of the Alumni Association, Emily Schatz, to come up and present this year's Oaks Award winner.
Hello. So Aaron Craig became an entrepreneur at a young age, reselling his Halloween candy to neighborhood kids. He majored in politics, philosophy, and economics at King's, where he also studied media and took business electives. After graduating in 2010, Aaron started the production company We Are Films with his brother Alex. Their clients include the Food Network, Squarespace, Coach, Virgin Atlantic Airlines, the Brooklyn Academy of Music, and numerous artists such as Sufjan Stevens and the Welcome Wagon. We Are Films specializes in creating high-quality video content for the web at reasonable prices. As Aaron was graduating, the rise of the internet and digital marketing allowed startup production companies to work with well-known brand names. Squarespace hired We Are Films to help rebrand the company by making customer testimonial videos and posting them on a blog. The testimonials came from some of Squarespace's most prominent users and became a central part of the new brand. So, Squarespace redesigned their landing page around Aaron's videos and integrated them into their own website. Through We Are Films, Aaron has made everything from music videos to documentaries, commercials, and short films in hopes of moving into feature films in the future. And they are on deck to film their first feature film in March 2015 with director Peter Bishai, who directed the $6 million feature A Million Colors in South Africa. In addition to film work, Aaron founded the website microhealth.org, which helps hemophilia patients stay on top of their health needs and connect with their care network easily by keeping all of their information in one HIPAA-compliant place. It has Android and iPhone apps that sync with the website, is available in English and Spanish, and is now being used by over 10% of the hemophilia patient population. He and his co-founder desire to improve technology across the healthcare industry and are now expanding the platform to serve other chronic conditions. Aaron works hard to do everything with excellence. In film, which is known for backstabbing and elitism, he creates a culture of grace and kindness and brings glory to God through his work. Aaron, you can come up. For your pioneering spirit, for your courage, integrity, vision, and tenacity, we are very pleased to present you the J. Stanley Oaks Award.
All right, well, thank you. I've never had such an introduction before, so that's really nice. I don't really have any prepared statement or anything, but I just want to say I think it's kind of funny to be given an award for the work that you've done, because I always tell people I feel like ever since I graduated, I feel like I haven't worked a day in my entire life, really, because I feel like what I do is just something I do for fun, and I'm just very thankful to have had these things that I've done for fun just turn into business opportunities, and that has been successful. And so I would just encourage anyone who is, preparing to go into their field of work that you just really look at what you love to do and that you pursue. I know we're always told to do that a lot, but I really believe it, that if you pursue what you're passionate about, that you can be successful at it. And I think that with both my work at We Are Films and MicroHealth, it is all centered around the internet. And I think it's a great tool, and it has really amazing opportunities for people that are young that want to make a big difference in the world, and you'd be surprised at what you can do with the internet. It's really cool. But anyway, thanks for everything. Thanks for your time, and thanks for this award.
Thank you, Aaron and Emily. So the next award we're going to present is the Charles W. Anderson Award. This award is granted annually to an alumnus or alumna of either the King's College or Northeastern Bible College who's in full-time vocational ministry. This person should embrace NBC's vision, Christ for a Lost World, through a life of faithfulness, sacrifice, and a pioneering spirit. The award is named after Northeastern Bible College's founding president, Charles W. Anderson, to perpetuate his vision for NBC and to demonstrate NBC's shared vision with Kings to influence the world. So I'm going to ask our Northeastern Bible College representative, Steve French, to come up and introduce this year's award winner. And we'll play the video.
Well, first of all, greetings, and I had the privilege of being able to present this award on behalf of, as well as Dr. Anderson's granddaughter. Her name is Donna Jean Anderson Breckenridge, and she's unable to be here today to help in the presentation because she is getting the chance to celebrate her father-in-law's 85th birthday in Maryland, which is today. And I recommended highly that she spend time with her father-in-law rather than us today. So with that said, she sends her greetings, and it's a real privilege because Donna Jean and I have been childhood friends growing up together around Northeastern, as well as growing up around the church in which we were involved in. and to be able to then reconnect with her in a pretty significant way to keep the memory and the legacy of Northeastern Bible College and Dr. Anderson with the King's College is quite a privilege for me. So just a few remarks regarding this award and then regarding our alumni that is going to be receiving it. Both having degrees from the Wheaton College, they met in the late 1920s. They both had a passion to make Christ known, and both were gifted communicators. One from the West Coast and the other from the East Coast. They became friends when they met finally at Westminster Theological Seminary, where on Fridays at noon, they would intentionally get together, just the two of them, to pray. That the Lord might use them to impact their world and perhaps the world. These two young men, Charles W. Anderson and Percy Crawford, had much in common. They loved the Lord and they loved pioneering new works. And they both had an amazing zeal for Christ. While both of men's ministries would primarily be focused on the East Coast of the United States, their hearts were always beating and their eyes and minds always scanning for opportunities to reach a lost and dying world. Crawford went on to start various ministries, including the King's College, while Anderson primarily found the expression of his God-given vision through a local church in Bloomfield, New Jersey called the Brookdale Baptist Church. It was at Brookdale Baptist Church that Anderson pioneered a college called Northeastern Bible College, where the mission to train young people for full-time Christian vocational work was obtained. Little did they know, and how thrilled they probably are, as they witness from the heavenly grandstands today, a very vivid and vital expressions of their visions having come full circle and are back together once again here at the King's College. It's our intent that by awarding this annual award of Charles W. Anderson Award that we together would keep connected to these historical ties and complement much of their founding visions. It is good to have annual moments in which we would remember those that laid the foundation for which we're able to stand upon, study upon, and to be able to complement their drive to launch various pioneering work in our culture that would be salt and light to a world that desperately needs some amazing light and some good taste. My personal reflections, frankly, are a bit more maybe personal than you care to know, but to let you say in full disclosure that Dr. Anderson was not only the president of my school, but he also was my pastor. Growing up as a young boy on the campus of Northeastern Bible College, my dad was a professor there. And I got a chance to be around that campus for many, many years. And as I went into the student body at Northeastern Bible College, little did I know that my last 2 years of being the president of the student body would be the last 2 years of his presidency. So he not only was my pastor, but for the last 2 years of his presidency, we were partners as we worked together to make the school a very vivid and wonderful college. With that said, Ray Kohlbacher is this year's recipient of the Charles W. Anderson Award. Ray grew up in Franklin, New Jersey, and attended William Patterson College, which is now William Patterson University, following high school, and accepted the Lord shortly before becoming a student at Northeastern Bible College. Ray graduated from Northeastern in 1983 with a major in Bible and a minor in pastoral studies. While at Northeastern, Ray played basketball and served as a resident assistant for 2 years. Ray went on to earn his Master's of Divinity from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary in South Hamilton, Massachusetts in 1988. He then served as youth pastor at Grace Church on the Mount in Netcong, New Jersey for 7 years, where the youth program thrived under his leadership. In 1995, Ray was called a senior pastor at the Parkview Community Church in Glen Ellen, Illinois, which is right next to Wheaton, Illinois, and it was formerly called the First Baptist Church of Glen Ellen at the time. The church has grown since then from a handful of families to a church of more than 1,400 people today. I was just in Wheaton and got a chance to just kind of smell that out, and was amazed at the amount of people that have been greatly impacted by his ministry. Ray ministered alongside his wife, Marjorie, and God has blessed them with 2 children now grown, Megan and Corey. As a result of Ray's pioneering leadership, Parkview is a home for people from all walks of life, including those from the homeless community. Ray's vision for Christ for a lost world is evidenced by him leading Parkview Community Church into yet another phase of ministry, this time a journey of recognizing that God in Jesus went all in for us. We as a church must go all out for the gospel by running towards the needs around us. This God-sized vision is local, regional, and global, and they've raised $8.5 million for it. Ray has led Parkview in thoughtful giving and praying to focus in on the rescue work of slave girls in India, and a community center to meet the needs in DuPage County there in Illinois, and the responsible stewardship of their own facility. Ray's innovative and creative leadership mirrors that of Dr. Anderson, and they follow in the footsteps of the early church, which sought to reach Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and of course the uttermost parts of the earth. We honor Ray's service today with this award, and we encourage him to continue by, quote, being confident of this, that he who's begun a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. And now, via video, I asked Ray to simply accept this award and to also to give a few comments. And so with no further ado, here's Ray Kohlbacher accepting it.
Good afternoon to all of you in New York. My name is Ray Kohlbacher. I'm the senior pastor at Parkview Community Church, located here just outside the great windy city of Chicago. Regretfully, due to previous commitments, I'm unable to be with you in person today, but I do extend my deepest appreciation to the King's College Alumni Executive Committee, Rick Millam, Dr. Thornberry, and especially Donna Jean Anderson Breckenridge for honoring me as the recipient of the 2014 Charles W. Anderson Award. Although I never had the privilege of meeting Dr. Anderson in person, I've always been aware of his outstanding leadership and his faithful contribution to the cause of Christ, and so with his memory in mind, I humbly accept this year's award. Although living in the Chicago area for the past 19 years, I have paid close attention to the vision, direction, and development of the King's College, New York City. The college's goal of transforming society by preparing young Christian men and women for careers through which they will engage culture and represent Jesus and the good news of God's love and grace is quite exciting to me. That vision not only captures and perpetuates Dr. Anderson's legacy, but even more importantly, seeks to fulfill Jesus' command for his followers to go make a spiritual difference in the world. Since becoming a follower of Christ, teaching the truth of God's grace and living as an example of it the best that I can is all I've ever really hoped to accomplish. All that I've done in ministry is simply a demonstration of divine mercy and proof that God has a sense of humor, using foolish things in this world to confound the wise. As I receive this alumni award, my prayer is that the King's College will continue educating, developing, and launching new young Christian leaders into our society. And really, what better place to do that than in the cultural hub of our nation, Manhattan, New York City. Whether in churches, colleges, or other Christian organizations, we who currently hold the reins of leadership must commit ourselves to encourage innovation among our young people and inspire the next generation to not just think, but to think outside the box. Our world is constantly changing, and the success of future leaders rests in their ability to recognize, adapt, and by faith, take risks and try new things for the sake of God's kingdom. As it's been said, only dead fish swim with the current. As alumni, I hope all of us will continue to affirm and support the King's College and its mission. More than ever before, our broken world is in need of well-educated Christian men and women who will engage and live in such a way as to shape and influence our culture with truth, integrity, knowledge, along with commitment to Jesus and compassion for those he came to rescue. May all of us seek to serve God humbly and faithfully wherever we find ourselves. For in the words of John 3:30, he must become greater, I must become less. Again, I thank you for this award, and it's an honor to receive it.
I think that was worth the wait. So the next award that we're going to give out is the Distinguished Service Award. This is an award that's granted to an alumnus or an alumna who has provided outstanding service to either the college or to the Alumni Association. I'm just reading this. While all of our officers and governors serve unselfishly and are generous in sharing their time and talents with the school, there are those whose service has been far above the call of duty. Distinguished Service Awards recipients have served Kings in a very special way, and thus may be given only on infrequent occasions as a means of expressing the love, respect, and appreciation of the Alumni Association for great service. So this year, I actually wanted to nominate, and I spoke with several of the other Manhattan alumni who are on the committee. We wanted to nominate Andy Mills, who a couple years ago was actually made an honorary alumni of Kings, and so therefore is eligible to receive the award. For those of you who don't know, Andy Mills has done so many things for Kings. He's served as the president on 3 different occasions. He was one of the very early members of the Board of Trustees when Kings moved into New York City. He's currently a senior fellow of the college and is just one of its biggest cheerleaders and one of its greatest supporters. And I know I speak for a lot of the alumni who've come from the Manhattan campus. He is absolutely the reason why we're here. He's the reason why all of us are here today, because he was able to take this college from a very not so great place and help mold it into what it is today. And because of his tireless, dedicated service, the hours and the dollars he's put into this place, I know I can speak for myself that I would not be anywhere close to where I am today but for his service to the King's College. So, and I think I spoke for several of the Manhattan representatives in sort of expressing that sentiment, and that's why we wanted to nominate him for this Distinguished Service Award. So unfortunately, he's not able to be here today because he is helping to coordinate and is speaking at a Faith and Work conference in Boston. One of his huge passions is helping individuals realize their calling and their vocation, and grounding that in this theological concept of work so that we as Christians can go out and in our day-to-day things that we do, learn how to serve Christ better. So it's a huge passion of his, and it's great that they have this whole conference going on in Boston. He did send me a quick note that I'm going to read. He asked me to do it in his best mid-Atlantic / British accent, and I'm not even going to try that because if you don't know him, he grew up in England. He actually studied politics, philosophy, and economics at Oxford, and then he moved to Boston at a very young age. So he has this Bostonian British accent that, with hours of practice, I could probably not even come close to imitating. So in my normal voice, he says, "Dear friends, I am so sorry that I can't be with you today, but I'm speaking at a major Faith Work Summit in Boston. I am deeply honored to be the recipient of the alumni of the Distinguished Service Award. As you know, the King's College has been one of the great passions of my life, and I continue to stand in awe of what God is doing in and through the school. It is a privilege to have been able to play a role in building something so very special. Above all, I love the quality, character, and ambition of the graduates that are coming out of the college. I consistently hear stories of their impact in their places of work and in the lives of others. What better outcome could we ever have? Therefore, it is with special joy that I stand with all alumni of the King's College and humbly accept this remarkable award. May God richly bless you and the King's College." So that's just a quick note from Andy, and we'll be... All right, and the final award that we give out is our Alumnus or Alumna of the Year. The Alumnus of the Year award is granted annually to an alumnus or alumna of the King's College who has distinguished himself or herself in his or her chosen field, and who exemplifies the Christian philosophy of the college through a life dedicated to the Lord. The candidate must have attended either the King's College or Northeastern Bible College for one full semester, but the preference will be for a graduate of either institution. I'm going to ask Jim O'Brien, an alumni from 1964, is what I was going to say. He's going to introduce this year's award winners.
(1964). 50 years ago. 50 years ago. I can't believe it, folks. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay. Well, I was looking at the sign up here. It said the King's College, a logo. And there's an apostrophe in that word. And in my name, there's an apostrophe, James O. apostrophe Brian. And what does that apostrophe mean? I'm James of Brian. In other words, I'm the son of Brian. That's where the word originally came from. Just like McDonald means of McDonald, of Donald. And the apostrophe, I want you just to remember, before I get into this, remember the apostrophe in Kings. Never forget that it's there, because the world's telling us, you own yourself. It's your body. You can do what you want with it. No. We belong to the King. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I think it's an important thing. And in fact, it might be nice to get some little apostrophes, make them little stick pins. You know? People go, what is that? Is that a comma? No, it's an apostrophe. Yeah. So anyway, okay. I'd like to brag a little bit about this year's alumni. We actually are sort of changing tradition, I think, today. I don't know if have we ever had two, what do you call two alumnum? Whatever. What's that? What's it called? Alumni. Alumni? Dr. Potter? What do you call it? I couldn't resist. Love you, brother. Thank you. I think it's fantastic that we have a man like this as our president. Amen. Thank the Lord for that. Had a chance to have lunch with you on the Upper West Side, I guess it was, a few months ago. What a time we had. The husband and wife that are this year's Alumni of the Year, I can describe them this way. Christians, first of all, a husband and a wife, father and a mother, students, servants, broadcasters, missionaries, pastor, counselor, traveler, teacher, grandparents, soul winners, friends, and yes, the King's College and all it stands for. It goes way back. Alexander and Sally Beth Edwards Tarosi. They've been dear friends of our family for at least 50 years, maybe more than that. I can't remember how far back it goes. But someone has said it's not well said, but it should be well done. And that's what's happened to these two people. And they've been testimony to my wife and I and our 4 kids. In fact, we have one son that graduated from King's as well. Let me go back real quickly. I don't want to draw this out too much, but it bears mentioning. The Reverend Alexander Tarosi, or which we also call Tarotsky, but or it's been slaughtered, I'm sure, right? Was born in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, to a totally Hungarian family, and he speaks some Hungarian even today. Alex spoke Hungarian before he even spoke English. He graduated from Moody Bible Institute. He attended the King's College, Westchester University, and Nyack College, our rival back at that time. He was ordained in 1967, and Sally also attended the King's College. That's sort of where things sort of got started. Alex and Sally met and were married August the 5th of 1967. We were 12. Truth in advertising, right? Okay. Prior to joining Transworld Radio, Alex was pastor of Brigantine Bible Church in Brigantine, New Jersey. That's why they call it the Brigantine Bible Church. Alex and Sally joined Transworld Radio in 1969. Because of Alex's Hungarian background, he had a burden to reach the people of Eastern Europe, who at the time were under communist rule, as you know. He and Sally were assigned to TWR's transmitting location in Monte Carlo. You say, Monte Carlo, that's no tough place to live, but when you're trying to live there on a missionary salary, get real, okay? It was tough, let me tell you. All right, let me move on here. He became involved in the Eastern European ministries, producing programs for Hungary, Yugoslavia, and even Russia. Sally Beth helped answer the mail and audition the English program tapes to make sure they were done properly and so on. She was able to do this at home while she cared for their 2 little ones, Lori and Michael. She also taught English to the wives of 2 of the broadcasters. The offices and studios in Monte Carlo had many, many visitors, so they entertained them as they come through and loved entertaining these people as they visited in their little apartment there in Monte Carlo. After serving 8.5 years in Monte Carlo, they were assigned to the island of Guam, out in the middle of the Pacific. You can't get much farther away from land than Guam. That was quite a culture shock from the Grand Prix of Monte Carlo. There was an emergency situation, and they were asked to step in. And so Alex ministered in radio announcing, live on the air, also doing production work and also management. In 1979, Alex and Sally were asked to return to the United States for a year to represent TWR in various churches and Christian colleges around the area. And they also still live here. They live up in New Holland, Pennsylvania, up near Lancaster. You know where that is. Okay. Besides that, the Lord opened new doors and gave Sally her own ministry to ladies. Her ministry is called Increasing Joy, where she speaks at various retreats for women. And Alex and Sally also love to minister together, in fact, as well. And first and foremost, share the need to know Jesus Christ as Savior, and the tool most needed in and for all the life, the Word of God. Just in conclusion, a quote from Al and Sally. It is an absolute knockdown, drag-out miracle that we stand here today, 45 years later, to come this far. It is only by God's great grace, and with His grace and strength, we continue onward till He calls us home. It's a privilege to not only nominate them for the award, but also to recognize that they have been selected by the Alumni Committee for this year's Alumni Award. So would you please come forward? We'd like to recognize you at this time and say thank you.
I should go first. I have to say something, okay? I just need to tell you what a blessing it's been already to be with you all. And I'm not sure why we're here except because of him. He has done miraculous things in our lives. And I want, first of all, to thank, where are my glasses? Here they are. Thank Jim and Adina for recognizing us and for their great support of us through the years. They have been very generous. And, but more than that, their friendship has been special. So thank you. Dina and I used to be prayer partners at King's. And in Briarcliff Manor, they had these little rooms that were for the maids that used to take care of the hotel when it was a hotel. They had these little closets, and we would go in there and sit on the floor in this little narrow closet and talk and pray together. We used to pray by her bed, but she would fall asleep, and I'd have to get her into bed. I also want to thank the committee, too, for your consideration and vote. Wow. And I would like to dedicate this to my parents, who both live in heaven and have been there for quite a while. And I lost my whole family by the time I was 30, but my dad went home to heaven first. And I just can't say a couple words about them, but it's really hard because these two people, made Jesus Christ irresistible to me. Not because everything went right, but because when everything went wrong, I saw them turn to the Word of God and to prayer. My mother taught at the King's College back in the 50s, and I like to say that I actually went to grammar school and college all at the same time. And it was wonderful. I was the little girl on campus, and the students and everyone were just great, and even got to paint and do all kinds of things and clean the chandeliers. They put me to work. Talk about child labor. But anyway, my folks and the King's College left a deep impression on my life, even as a little girl. And so it was really a privilege when the Lord allowed me to attend the King's College and to know Percy and Ruth. And they really loved my parents, and my dad was an engineer, so Percy called him to help and to look over the campus, you know, all that. I don't want to take much time, but I just want to share with you, I think it's 4, what I call amazing anchors that have been anchors in my life. And they come from the Word of God. Where's my Bible, honey? This is the power. This book and the God of this book has absolutely transformed my life. This book and the God of this book has absolutely transformed my marriage. This book and the God of this book has absolutely transformed my children and my grandchildren. That is a miracle. Hallelujah. And the anchors I want to share with you. My dad wrote this in the flyleaf of one of my first Bibles. And it comes from Psalm 27:14. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall, not maybe or perhaps, he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. That verse followed me even when I wasn't waiting on him, even when I wasn't thinking of him. It was there. God, the hound of heaven. Ephesians 3:19. This verse, the Lord led me to that verse when I got to King's after being out of school for 2 years, scared to death, went out, on the mountainside there in the woods, found a rock, sat on it, grabbed my Bible. I was crying, Lord, help me. I'm the part of the class that makes the upper part possible. And I don't think I can do this. And
that's my statement, by the way.
oh, sorry, I stole his thunder. But anyway, but I have to tell you, the Lord very specifically led me to Ephesians 3:19. And it says this, and to know the love of Christ, here's the kicker, which passeth knowledge, that you might be filled with all the fullness of God. And that just really spoke to my heart and gave me courage, because what I wanted more than anything was to be filled full with him and to relate that to the world. 2 Corinthians 10:5, I submit this to give to your children, your grandchildren, or whoever, to yourself. This verse, these 2 verses, have saved me from so much I can't even begin to tell you. I wrote it out on a card, carried it in my pocket till I memorized it. And it says this, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought in obedience to Christ. A little Trozy translation for the next part, it says, and when I get my obedience in order, God tears down disobedience. Mm-hmm. Look at our world today. It's not their fault. They don't know any better. I'm taking this very personally, getting my obedience totally in order, so that right this minute, evil and wickedness is being torn down. Our God is great. He can do anything. And the other verse I wanted to share was Psalm 61:3-4. For thou hast been a shelter for me, that strong tower from the enemy. And I will abide, because I've made my choice. I will abide in thy tabernacle forever. I will trust in the shelter of thy wings.